Okay. Yes, my name is George Salfelt. I'm the CEO of Oxality, which is a company doing technology solutions for fund companies. And I founded it in 2018. Previously to that, I was the CEO of Morningstar for 17 years in Sweden. So I have a bit of a background in the fund industry and when it comes to fund data.
Yeah, my name is Sebastian. I'm the CEO of a company called Hybridity. My background is as a physicist and engineer from KTH, specializing in artificial intelligence. I founded this company with my co-founder and a few other people a year ago, and we've been aggressively building new products with generative AI as its core.
Great. So we're here to tell you a bit of a story. We started looking at generative AI at Oxality around December 22, and I think a lot of companies did with the ChatGPT stuff emerging. And we realized that we need to get AI into our products somehow. We work with reports, we worked with text management, and we work with visualizations, web solutions, PDFs, and so on. But we quickly realized that there was an opportunity in the Nordics to see if we could build something more centralized. Really, the discussions we had was something about a digital colleague that could be useful for all fund companies, where we could build it centrally for the whole market, and then the fund companies really needed to just focus on the 10% to customize it for their own needs. So we're going to tell you about how we have approached this. Maybe we can change. So we looked at this and saw that in the investment management space, or where the actual investment management is in a fund company, there will be a lot of competing AI solutions. Some of you will have them in-house, some of you will have combinations of AIs to find alpha and all that stuff. But when it comes to the administration, most fund companies have the same needs. So we saw that the opportunity to centralize the creation of what was needed here was an opportunity for us. But we also realized, I mean, we've been in the tech space with fund companies for more than 20 years. But we realized we needed a partner who was pure AI. So even though we could, learn, the speed of development that's going on now is just too high for us. So we needed to partner with somebody, and we found Hybridity. And Hybridity is really a leading player in the Nordic markets. And they have some of the strongest experts, AI experts that we have up there. So you can see the combination, 20 years of experience with fund companies and really innovative new technology. So before we go on, how do we get to that centralized thing that we want to create for all fund companies? I think Sebastian will take us on an expose of what is Gen AI.
Yes, so this will be super quickly. I'm not here to do a lecture, but AI means a lot of things to a lot of people. We've been used to talking about AI as this predictive technology to optimize things in logistics or in weather prediction or in trading algorithms. But slightly more than a year ago, the generative AI era started. And at its core, AI is this combination between compute, data, and algorithms. And we've kind of reached an inflection point in the last year where all these things have come together and reached a new scale, allowing us to really create amazing new applications. So on the compute side, Moore's law have been operating for more than 7 decades. This observation that the amount of compute doubles every 18 months. And that's been going on now for more than 70 years and reached really astronomical levels. And then on the data side, the internet has been in operation for approximately 3 decades. And the internet is nothing but really a huge repository of data. And so there's petabytes and petabytes of data now gathered on the internet. And then there was breakthroughs in neural network designs or in the algorithms. And all those things came together in November of 2022 with the launch of GPT-3. Just a quick look at what these neural networks aim to kind of model or simulate. The top picture there is actually a small sliver of a human brain. And each dark dot is a neuron, and the tiny threads are axons or dendrites or connections between neurons. And on the lower image, we see an attempt to kind of model this in a computer. And so that's why they're called artificial neural networks, as opposed to real neural networks that we all have in our brains. Just a quick tidbit here. ChatGPT-4 consists of 1,700 billion parameters, or edges, or connections between neurons. That's a very, very large number. And it's that very, very large number that allows these models to kind of simulate human intelligence and allows us to automate cognitive labor in a whole new way, really. So with this huge breakthrough, a very large number of new companies have been created to solve a very large number of problems. Both the traditional players like Adobe and Microsoft and Google is aggressively pursuing and deploying this technology, but a large roster of new companies are as well. And here, Hybridity, along with Oxality, we're positioning ourselves in the reporting and the knowledge creating box, which we think is quite sparsely populated so far. And why are we doing this? Well, we're seeing that the financial industry in particular are facing two concurrent and increasing challenges. The first one is in the increasing regulatory burden. Every year there's a new regulatory framework being introduced, demanding ever more reporting, ever more compliance obligations. And the second one is that customers are becoming ever more demanding of timely, qualitative, and correct information. Now, this is not what fund companies like to be doing. As I understand it, at least, you want to make sure to deliver the best possible returns to your investors, not follow regulations or communicate with stakeholders, even though that can be fun. But there's this repetitive work and very time-consuming work associated with both the regulatory and the information provision to the customers. And this trend will continue to exist, ever more regulations and ever more increasing demands from customers. But that's where this new technology comes into play, this generative AI technology, that will allow many companies, not just the financial industry, but to meet these increasing demands without necessarily increasing the human workload.
Can you see from back there what it says? Yeah, so this is administrative support, legal, business and financial operations. And going forward, we'll be showing you how we target these areas clearly.
Yeah. So this is a study by Goldman Sachs, really looking closely at which areas of our economies will be most heavily impacted by the generative AI revolution. Previous technology leaps has usually automated or supported work in physical labor, but in this case, it's really about cognitive labor, the kind of labor that's been done or is being done in office administrative support, legal, business operations, but also the other ones, such as sales and marketing and so on. But yeah. Yes, perhaps.
Yeah, so we can come back to the story. So we realized that there is an opportunity for the industry to come together on a Nordic level and see if we could face this challenge of creating administrative AI together rather than each fund company doing it on its own. So there are several things around that is good. One thing is that there's a larger group of people training the AI rather than everybody having their own thing. So we asked the fund industry to come and join us. This is actually at Google's premises because there were so many, we couldn't fit them in any of our offices. So we had 100 plus people and they're all fund companies from the Nordics, to listen to our ideas and to join something that we call FILA. So the project is Fund Intelligence Learning Automation. And we will be telling you now, we will be concrete. So what are we actually going to do with the AI? So now we're kind of leaving the area of abstract AI talk that everybody's doing and really going down into what will this create? And I can tell you that this is already started, and September we will be launching some things that will be available for all fund companies.
Yeah. So as George said, we invited the entire industry, and we selected a subset of those companies to participate in more detailed scoping sessions, during which we listened intently to their needs and their requirements and their kind of wishes of what this tool would do for them. But stepping back just one step, like what we're doing in the abstract is we're building this platform that contains these specialized AI agents that can automate a bunch of workflows, that can research, analyze, and write reports and documents, and it can automate a bunch of manual processes. And then the question is, okay, which reports, which manual processes, which areas of expertise do these AI agents need to have to really create value in the financial fund industry? And that's
I can just interject there. So the process has been that we gathered everyone, we really taught them what is the lowest hanging fruits in terms of using Gen AI, with the least complexity and the most value. So let's look at those use cases first. And then we've been interviewing these 10 fund companies to see that the needs are actually the same, right? So, and then we will go in, now we will tell you which needs have we found that they want to address first.
Yeah. So the first one is the monthly report going out to the investors of the fund. This has been a process that traders has been tasked to do. It's not what they prefer to do. They want to find stocks and analyze them and trade them. But they're obligated to tell their investors which ones they have bought, which ones they have sold, and they are obligated to do so in a very structured and format.
Yeah, I mean, the format is normally like this. Okay, it's the first of the month. Dear manager, you have to write what has happened over the last month, right? So the manager has to sit down, okay, kind of outlook, macro perspective, write something smart there. What did the fund do? Write something smart there. And then, maybe some projections. Now, what this will do, and then normally, it depends on what fund company, but normally these reports go out to, to the clients, institutions or retail, somewhere around day 7, 8, 9, up until day 16. Right? It takes some time to get this done. And it maybe has to go through some legal eyes as well. So what we will do now is that we will have the AI read all the news. So if you're a Sweden large cap fund, it reads all the financial news around in that area. And then it sees all the positions in the fund over the month, and it will create a really, really good text for you. So you as a manager will get a very good text that is insightful, right? And then you can very quickly just, okay, more about this, less about this, add this, and so on, right? So you can get something very substantial very, very quickly. And not only that, you can also individualize it. So you have one institution that's very heavily focused on ESG metrics, let's say. And then you have another institution that's very heavily focused on something else. And the AI can separate these up and create, really, really good reports that will actually be read. In our industry, we're creating a lot of reports that very few people read, right? And because it's very generic mostly, right? So this is an example of a report that will be done. But there are also other reports that you can imagine that can be done this way.
Then there's the DORA compliance evaluation. This is not always the fund companies that do, but larger financial institutions. They are faced with this challenge of finding out whether or not their supplier network are in compliance with DORA. Now, LLMs are excellent at producing texts, but they're also excellent at comparing texts. And the process of figuring out whether or not a supplier contract is in compliance with the DORA regulatory text is simply that, a comparison between two texts, and then producing a report on whether or not the contract is in compliance or not.
Yeah, I can just, again, tell you more of a story that from real life. So we're talking to one of these companies that are involved in this project, one of the big Nordic fund companies. They have about 500 supplier agreements. And then DORA is just an example, by the way. It could be anything. But then DORA comes along. So you have 500 contracts, and then you have a new regulation. So what do? Well, dear lawyers, regulation 1, go through all these 500, regulation 2, right? And here, the LLMs, the large language models, are amazing at finding these discrepancies. Are we compliant? Are we not compliant? So what it will do is take these 500, it will go through them, and it will spit out, okay, these 70 are totally not compliant. This is where the lawyers really need to do the work. These 100 are already compliant, so you don't need to look at those. So you can imagine, DORA is coming into effect, I think, early next year, right? I suppose, yeah, early next year. And this is something that we will be building now in order for the fault, for these people to have that support. But, you could also do other things. It could be that you, in your agreements or in your policies, might be missing something that is coming along in the industry, right? And, you have thousands of documents. Please check this. And then it does the same kind of activity. Yes. Yes, so the question was, does it only point out where it's missing, or does it also suggest changes? So this is a multi-level thing, right? So one thing is that it can conclude, through reasoning, that these are the documents you need to look at. The second level of this is that it will also, perform the task of suggesting, you should put this in here, and you can put it in this segment of this document. Yes?
Yes, and then there's the SFDR reporting checklist. Again, something we think about this as a report. A checklist is a form of a reporting. And so we're building this tool to be able to, as I said previously, research, summarize, and analyze, and also write. And so as fund companies, there are many other companies in your portfolio, and a lot of times there is heavy obligations on reporting what are the compliance to the SFDR regulations of the companies in your portfolio. So doing that analysis and that research is heavy cognitive labor, which could be done by LLMs. So here we're customizing the tool to be able to do that as well. Some of the other additional specification requirements gathered from your colleagues in the Nordic market is to ensure PRIP compliance of the monthly reports, onboarding new people into the organization, giving them tools to better understand which regulations they fall under. So essentially being able to ask questions to regulatory text in a user-friendly chat format. Then we're integrating our tools, the ones that Auxality has already built and that Hybridity is building, to enable dynamic report distribution to the correct people in the hierarchy. Then, of course, translation. So this has been a feature that's been on the wish list for a lot of people for a long time, and now LLMs have finally kind of cracked that nut, being able to produce really faithful translations across a wide number of languages.
Maybe I could just say some things here. So this one is kind of interesting. I mean, you can think about that as, you get a new colleague, into the fund company or to the financial institution, wherever it is. We have a very certain language that we use. If you're an engineer or if you're coming from somewhere else, maybe just retail banking, it's really hard to grasp everything. And then you're sitting in meetings and you don't understand everything. So rather than going to your colleagues or feeling stupid, you can interact with this AI tool. You can ask all sorts of, explain SFDR to me like I'm a 5-year-old. Explain GDPR when a client leaves us. What the hell am I supposed to do? Really, I'm not used to this, right? So you can have some, real language interaction with this tool that is really, really trained on our environments and what we do. And it's not just, general regulations. It's also the policies from, like fund associations. It's the internal policies. So that's really, really powerful when it comes to onboarding, new people. The translation part is interesting because. And that's high on the wish list. I mean, in Sweden, and I'm sure it's pretty much the same everywhere, we have fund companies that have at least 5-6 languages. They have, as soon as they do something, they have to do it in 6 languages. And this normally goes out to a translation company, and it comes back, and oh, we have to change something in the first one, and then what it is like. And these things are getting really, really good. Now, we have to teach the AI also the lingo, as I said before, we have our own little world. And that is also coming. I don't think this will be here in September, but in the next year, we will definitely have a super, super smart financial translation AI. And so we are ready for questions, but also, in September, so we will be launching these things in September and being able to show them live to you. And we were thinking about coming back to Germany to meet with people who want to see it. Kind of what did you do, and then also have some inputs from the fund companies, up there. So if you're interested, please do the thing with the QR code and just register, and we'll be in touch with you so you can see what we have done. So that's really our speech here. We're really trying to go from, the abstract AI situation that we have down to really focused tasks that the fund companies need. So that's, yeah.
So we have an expert in the room. I like it. Yes, there's a wide array now of
Did you hear
LLMs.
the question? Which LLMs, which language models do we use? Yeah.
Yes. Yes, the breakthrough model was from OpenAI. But at this point in time, all the major technology companies have built their own, and the open source community space, the open source space, has caught up now. This means that depending on the security needs and the data privacy needs of the client, we can choose to either run one of the big closed source ones delivered by Google or Microsoft, but we can also run the open source models. We can do so on hardware here in Europe, really ensuring data privacy of the highest standards. And at this point, the open source models are basically as good as the closed ones, especially if you focus them on very particular tasks. So we're building the platform to be completely model agnostic. It's simply a matter of changing one line of code to switch from one model to another.
Yeah.
We're building user experiences and UI that enables the user to pick the models that they would like to use.
Yeah, maybe I think that we can say something about the data as well. So depending on how sensitive the data is, it will be closer to the client. So you could, and I think we will be starting seeing on-prem solutions again, where you have, very close to your physical area, you will have some data that you don't want to go out too far. In Sweden, we have. I mean, maybe you could tell them about Berget.
Yeah. So we a daughter company that we have established called Berget. In English, that's called a mountain. So some people have their data in the cloud, other people have it in the mountain, and the mountain is essentially really just a compute cluster that we own and operate, that we populated with GPUs, the workhorse of this technology, and on that hardware we can run the open source models. To perform these tasks for the most data-sensitive use cases, or the privacy-sensitive use cases. So that falls, inside of Europe, and is wholly owned by Swedish companies, European companies, which should ensure the compliance with all kinds of data security measures introduced by the European Union, either today or in the future. So we're really trying to future-proof this product in that sense as well.
More questions? I think maybe yeah. Go on.
This morning in the first panel, we discussed the topic of how some of the AI applications may help reduce costs and also reduce the need on personnel. You mentioned legal reviews that are often needed to see if the text that has been written up by fund management can be allowed and doesn't get us into any trouble. How would this address that? In other words, would a legal review still be required, or is that also going to be cut out?
Yeah, I think, the legal space will definitely, they're waking up to this clearly, right? So I think they will be able to do a lot more work, So I think you will still need a human because there's responsibilities involved. So somebody needs to check it off, right? And I think you guys use a good, analogy, which is we will see more people being editors than writers, right? But that editorial functionality, whether it's legal text or whatever it is very necessary because the responsibility needs to stay with the people. Yeah.
Yep.
Are you also working on basically the others on the opposite side? So your project is building this tool with which you can establish the reports, but is there also something you're looking into to basically read the reports of the regulators?
Yeah, so that's a good question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically be a closed loop.
Yeah.
Just AIs talking to AIs.
Yeah, so the question is really, so we're producing these things with AI, and then what about the other side? Will we have reading AI, right? So we've been in some different dialogues on the reading side. So who's reading it? It's the capital owners, right? So they want to know. So maybe they can have an AI to check, right? And here we get back to the problem or the challenge that Sebastian was talking about, the higher demand from the users or from people, capital owners. Yes, there will be AI reading these things. We're focused on working with the fund companies, but we've also had. I've been asked by Swedish Financial Inspection, right, because they want to use AI to go through annual reports, right, and find errors, right. So I think that's a very good point. Why? So we need to move for different reasons, right, because what we produce will be scrutinized by very intelligent machines. So any fault will come up very quickly. And there's also a matter of speed. So let's say these monthly reports, the monthly comments that you do, for your fund. If everybody else, if I'm an institution and I have 1 billion with you, and then I have another 10 billion spread out, all of them give me a report day 1, and you're lingering till day 15, and I have a board meeting, and I need my AI to go through all these things. So we will see an increase in speed. We will also see, let's call it closed loop activities, right? That will, for that reader will spit out something, right? So yes.
Maybe one more question. Is there also, are there thoughts on making the format of the report in a way where you can, or are you researching a very efficient format of distilling the information, where basically the text doesn't matter anymore because you just have the AIs talking to each other?
Yes.
So did you hear the question? The format and the distilling?
Yes. The compression is something LLMs do amazingly well, and that's definitely something that we're headed for, where LLMs produce text that's not really readable to humans, but is eminently readable to AI. We couch our language in all these extra words that don't really convey the information, but just makes it more pleasant to read. That might be going away. But we're not quite there yet, I think. But definitely that's part of the future, I think.
Yeah.
Where information and intelligence kind of flows through our societies and civilization in this highly automated way, and we can do what's more pleasurable or more value creating in terms of interacting with clients, trying to understand the world, making decisions, and so on instead.
So if there are no more questions, what we want you to remember from this session is that there is a project going on that will be creating cool, concrete stuff for the industry. Stay in touch. We will show it to you. And also, in Sweden, we're applying something that we call safe to fail rather than fail safe. What we identified in a lot of financial companies was that where do we start with AI? Because if it fails, there will be a lot of problems. So we turn that around and say, start somewhere where it's safe to fail. Start doing stuff that doesn't matter if it doesn't work immediately. But you have to get started, because the speed of this thing will, you don't want to linger. And if you want to talk more with us, we'll be right outside. Robert will be there as well with this QR code, or if you want us, we can register you. We'd love to come back in September, meet you guys, and show you what we have done.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.